Hello, 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 and welcome back to another edition of FanTalk, your favorite podcast by your favorite fan. That is, of course, me, Kyle Brinchley, in the house. On this Thursday in 2025. Holy cow, who would have ever thought, and I said this last year, that 2024 would ever be a year. Who would have thought that 2025 would ever be a year? Crazy, crazy milestones, some big milestones. 20 years since Revenge of the Sith came out. 10 years since The Force Awakens came out. 5 years since COVID happened. Holy cow, time's just moving along so quickly. So I'm glad that you can join me here on FanTalk for another edition of probably the best fan-made podcast you've ever listened to today, this year. I am starting season four of FanTalk. Now, you might be asking, how are the seasons determined? Because I've only been going for 2.5 years, so clearly it's not a whole calendar year. But I'm just kind of rolling with it. The podcast has changed over time, and I'm just excited to start season 4. So thank you so much for joining with me. Of course, FanTalks podcast you can get anywhere you get your podcast. I am there. Shout out to Rogue One. Shout out to John Stockton. There you are, right over there. And we're going to jump right into an awesome episode. We are talking football. Of course, it is that time of year to always be talking. We'll talk about the college football playoff and the insane games that happened this week. We'll be breaking down those. We'll also look at the Pro Bowl roster. Now, the Pro Bowl doesn't mean as much as it once did, but the Pro Bowl roster, pretty much the All-Star game for the NFL, has been released today. And then we will talk Week 18 NFL, make some picks, and get you out the door. All right, guys, so let's start with college football. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge what happened yesterday in New Orleans on New Year's Eve. Terrible, terrible incident there. Our condolences go out to those victims involved, and it's just a terrible, terrible act. Because of that, obviously, the Sugar Bowl was postponed until today, which is Thursday, January 2nd. So the Notre Dame and Georgia game has not occurred yet. So again, it's just bad news, man. It just sucks that that's just what happened, and we're terribly sorry, and man, I hope the world can learn to love again. Okay, with that out of the way, there were a couple games yesterday, but even before that, New Year's Eve, Boise State and Penn State faced off in the Verbal Fiesta Bowl. Boise State, it was kind of cool. They wore the same jerseys that they wore in the 2007 Fiesta Bowl when they pulled off that miraculous upset of Oklahoma. I think that was one of the first games I really watched. I mean, I started watching football that year, and in 2007 was one of the first games I really watched as a child. So I kind of figured that this would happen, and it's an interesting conversation that I'll save for a later day about giving the conference champions a first round bye, even though that they are potentially the weaker team. You see a 3-seed Boise State team get dominated by Penn State. Penn State was the better team, more physical on defense, better on offense, just a better roster. You saw they obliterated SMU in the earlier round. So that's something that we'll save for another day as we continue to figure out how to best navigate the college football playoff 12-team format. So Penn State won. They'll be going on to the Capital One Orange Bowl to play the winner of the Sugar Bowl, which will happen tonight. Again, today is Thursday the 2nd, and it was postponed because of the unfortunate incident that happened New Year's Eve night in New Orleans. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go look it up. I'm sure you've heard about it, but terrible, terrible. So Penn State was the first team that punched their ticket to the semifinal, and then we got probably the best game of the whole tournament so far. Arizona State, the 4 seed, no one was giving them a shot. Everyone was like Texas by 20. They go in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, a game in Atlanta where you're like, probably not a lot of Arizona State fans are going to travel across the country to go to Atlanta. They go in there and honestly are behind most of the game. They're down 24-8 in the second half. And Cam Scatterboot, this guy is not human. He's got something in his DNA that is just cold. So cold, man. Went off Offensive Player MVP, even though his team didn't win. First time in Peach Bowl history. Led by him, they come back and they tie the game and ultimately force overtime. Now, I'm not going to talk too much. I don't talk about refereeing or talk about controversial moments as much. But there was a controversial moment at the end where a potential targeting call was not called, which pretty much did not give Arizona State the first down, did not give them a chance to win. So it goes to overtime, and Arizona State scores first, and you're like, oh boy, Texas, the pressure is on. But then 4th and 13, Texas scores, and you're like, all right, I guess we see why, that they were one of the best SEC teams. And then tragedy happened, and the miraculous Cinderella run for Arizona State ended with an interception at the end of the second overtime. Texas does move on, but what an incredible game! I don't know about football gods, but if you've had any doubt that they're not real, they're real now, because Texas missed not one, but 2 field goals. They have a kicker who is like one of the best in college football, and he missed 2 of them at the end. Arizona State getting all these opportunities to win. It was just absolutely crazy. Best game, super fun. Texas will be moving on to play the winner of the nightcap game. It was Ohio State and Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Now, I did have this feeling that, man, Ohio State's really not going to lose to Oregon twice. They already lost to Oregon earlier in the year in Eugene in an awesome thriller game, but they're not going to lose to Ohio State twice. Regardless, I did pick Oregon to win just because they were undefeated and they were the 1 seed. Never pick 1 seeds, I'll tell you that much. Ohio State went out there, they dominated the game. Will Howard, freaking star. Jeremiah Smith, freaking star. Ohio State is probably going to win the entire national championship. Book it. Unless Texas can beat them, I don't think Notre Dame, Georgia, or Penn State has what it takes to beat this Ohio State team. And Ohio State and Texas will face off in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl next Friday. Next Friday. Just trying to do the math here in my head real quick. So Texas, Ohio State, Penn State. Those are the 4 teams that remain, or 3 of the 4 teams that remain. Georgia, Notre Dame. Their game kicks off. Probably by the time you're watching this, the game is either already started or already ended. So we'll know by then for sure. All right, let's jump over to the NFL. Let's talk about the Pro Bowl. And earlier I said the Pro Bowl doesn't mean as much anymore. They do this flag football game now, which is kind of weird. They used to obviously have an actual football game, but it's changed. Pro Bowl, it's like turned into like a 3 or 4 day event, and they have different skill challenges. It's kind of changed. It's kind of similar to the NBA where they have skill challenges, and then the actual game is just like a cupcake pickup shebang bang. So I know some people have thoughts on that, but for the sake of today, we'll just reveal the rosters. So it's kind of cool. The AFC, it's kind of cool. So before I reveal the rosters, you've probably already seen them, but kind of how it works. I like how they laid it out here. So there's kind of 3 parts to this pie. There's a fan vote, there's a player vote, and there's a coach's vote. And starting from Thanksgiving on to, through Christmas, kind of towards the end of the season, fans can vote, players can vote, and coaches can vote. And they all weigh equally. In the NBA, it's not as weighed as equal because that's just the way it's set up. So it's kind of cool because fans can really get to vote for their players, their favorite players, because, I don't know about you, but when you sit down and watch a game on Sunday, if you're just watching it on national television, you're probably only going to see 3-4 teams play. You're going to see the Chiefs, you're going to see the Bills, you're going to see the Eagles, you're going to see the Cowboys. You're going to see these teams, you're going to see the Steelers, you're going to see the Ravens. You're going to see these teams, and so a lot of people aren't exposed to some of these other teams that maybe aren't on the nationally televised game. So it's really cool that the fans have a vote, coaches have a vote, and players have a vote to really, spread it out across the board. But so yeah, that's kind of how the voting works. I voted, maybe some of you guys did too. But here's the rosters. I won't go through every single person, but some, I don't have any complaints. I think everyone on this list deserved to be there. I will shout out my boy Nick Benito. That's pretty cool that he made the Pro Bowl. Outside linebacker for the Denver Broncos, having an awesome year. Pat Surtain as well, getting the nod there. And then Marvin Mims Jr., second year in the league, been to the Pro Bowl twice as the return specialist. This guy is for real. NFC, same as well. Shout out to Sam Darnold. Awesome year. I'm glad he made the list. Scary Terry, of course, always on there. Good for Josh Jacobs, having a great year for the Packers. And I have Vita Vea, my boy. I have no issues. JC Horn having an awesome year. I mentioned this earlier. I met his mom in Denver when the Panthers were playing the Broncos. Really cool. So, yeah, that's that's the Pro Bowl. You can check it out for more in-depth analysis if you really want. Again, the Pro Bowl is, I don't even know when it is, but it's happening, and it's a little different than in years past. All right, let's get to the meat of the meal, and that is Week 18 Pick'em. Yes, we are to the final week of the NFL. Where has the season gone? I'm kind of sad, actually. Take me back to September, because, the NFL is just starting and things are just ramping up. You got the whole holiday season ahead of you, and now that's all out the window, and it's January 2025. We're looking forward to a new year, but let's finish off Week 18 with some picks. And we're going to start with a couple games that are happening on Saturday. Now, there are a few implications still in play. Week 17 was kind of a big week, but Week 18, there's still a lot of implications into play. The Baltimore Ravens have locked up a playoff spot, so really this game is just for pride. They can't really move much. Seeding-wise, they're kind of locked in there at the 3 seed, I believe. They're currently at the 3 seed. So this game's on Saturday. I'm going to pick the Ravens in this one to beat the Browns, to finish out a fantastic season and head into the postseason. Now, this is a game that everyone should be watching. Bengals at Steelers, 6 p.m. on Saturday night. Bengals need to win, and they need the Dolphins to lose and the Broncos to lose. So the Bengals are still alive, but just barely. I do think they win this game. The Steelers are playing ice cold right now. The Bengals are playing red hot. They've won 4 straight. I think they win this game. They get to 9-8 and keep their playoff chances alive just for another day. Panthers at Falcons. Michael Penix has done fairly well stepping in for Kirk Cousins. I think the Falcons are going to roll with Penix next year, giving him some good experience. He's up against a feisty Carolina Panthers team, although the Panthers defense is absolutely terrible. I think this is a great game for the Falcons and Michael Penix to win. They need to win and the Buccaneers to lose to get the NFC South title. So they're going to play their hearts out. They're going to win this game and hope that somehow Tampa Bay drops a game to the Saints. Commanders and Cowboys. I would pick the Cowboys in this one because the Commanders coming off an emotional win against the Falcons. Kind of struggled the last couple games, have kept it close. But I think the Commanders win this one because the Cowboys are playing at home. The Cowboys have been absolutely terrible at home. That is my reasoning. Bears and Packers. Give me the Packers in this one. The Packers locked into the playoff spot. Could move up. They could, if they lose, they could get the 7th seed and play at Philly. Or if they win, they could potentially be playing at Tampa Bay or Los Angeles Rams, which I believe are better options than playing in Philly. But we'll see. Packers over Bears on to next season for Caleb Williams and Chicago. Texans and Titans. I'm going to go for the Texans in this one, even though the Texans are not playing super great right now. The Titans probably want to draft a quarterback. Will Levis is not working out. Mason Rudolph is not the franchise guy. They want to draft a guy. They want to have as high as draft pick as possible. If they lose this week, they'll probably have the 2nd or 3rd pick overall. So this is a game that Texans definitely will win. Jags and Colts. I'm going to actually pick the Jaguars in this one. The Colts always seem to lose to the Jaguars. The Colts season's already over. Anthony Richardson, and there was a report that his back pain is so bad that he has to crawl across the floor at his house sometimes when it flares up. Joe Flacco is old enough to be your dad, literally. And, I mean, the Jags, 4-12, they probably want a good draft pick. But, I mean, the Jags own the Colts. I'm picking the Jags in this one. Bills and Patriots. Give me the Bills in this one. Josh Allen will likely start to keep his streak alive, but then probably sit after a few drives, if not one drive. Hand it off to Mitchell Trubisky. Patriots currently hold the number 1 pick. If they lose, no incentive winning here. Drake May will ball out. Might be a close game, but give me the Bills. Giants and Eagles. I'm going to go with the Eagles in this one. Giants, crazy win over the Colts. That's so funny. Drew Lock doing what he does best and play spoiler. But they'll lose this one, probably get the 2nd or 3rd pick, depending on the Titans game. I'm going to go with the Eagles. Tampa Bay and Saints. I'm going to go with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is one of those super hot teams right now, so watch out for them. Heading into the postseason, Baker Mayfield is absolutely cooking. Boomer Sooner Baker. He is legit. The Bucs are in great position. Give me the Bucs. Chiefs and Broncos. Now, it's kind of interesting. The line, when this first opened on Monday, the Chiefs were favored 65% to 35%. Now it's shifted to about even. Give me the Broncos at home, coming off an emotional loss against the Bengals. The Chiefs are going to be playing a lot of bench players. Carson Wentz will play, and a lot of like Travis Kelce will sit, and a lot of those offensive players and defensive players will sit. So give me the Broncos in a must-win situation. Win, they're in the postseason. Lose, then they have to hope the Bengals lose and the Dolphins lose. So pretty much just win and you're in. Chargers and Raiders. I'm going to go with the Chargers in this one. The Chargers are another team similar to the Buccaneers that are just playing super hot right now. The Raiders, who knows what the heck they're doing. They were sitting in a 2-12, perfect position for the number one pick. They win their last 2 games. Antonio Pierce is probably on his way out, so he really just wanted to give it to the organization, if you know what I mean. So look for them to come out feisty, but for the Chargers to win this one late. Chargers still playing for a better playoff seed. If the Steelers lose and the Chargers win, then the Chargers get the 5 seed and will play Houston instead of Baltimore. Huge incentive. I'd rather be playing Houston than Baltimore any day. Seahawks and Rams. I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this one. The Rams announced that they're going to bench Matthew Stafford or rest him in favor of Jimmy Garoppolo. Ladies, you heard it. Jimmy Garoppolo's on your screen. 2:25 Mountain Time if you want to see that beautiful man. Seahawks play really good on the road, and the Rams, kind of interesting. Like, they could move up. They could have the 3 seed if they win, but if they lose, they're going to have the 4 seed. I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, but they're going to roll Jimmy Garoppolo. So give me the Seahawks in this one. Geno Smith, they're out of the postseason, but to get 10 wins, be 10-7, great for Coach McDonald in his first year in Seattle. Dolphins at Jets. Tua is probably not going to go. They're going to go with Tyler Huntley again. Tyler Huntley played very well against the Browns. The Jets are an absolute mess. They look absolutely terrible. I'm going to go with the Dolphins in this one to win, but just hope that the Broncos win. Because if the Dolphins win and the Broncos lose, then the Dolphins are in the postseason, and that will not be a fun game, Dolphins versus Bills. So we'll see there. I'm going to go with the 49ers in this one. This game literally has no implications, bragging rights only. The Cardinals have fallen off a cliff, but the 49ers played a very good game against the Lions, took them to the edge of the line, so I'm going to go 49ers. Vikings at Lions. The Lions' defense has been absolutely abysmal. They're plagued by so many injuries. Jared Goff's an absolute baller, but the Vikings are just a more complete team. I'm going to take the Vikings to win this game, beat Detroit, lock up the number 1 seed, and we'll lock up the NFC North and the number 1 seed home field advantage throughout the postseason. So there you go. Those are my Week 18 picks there in the NFL. We had a wonderful year. Holy cow, I can't believe it's coming down to an end. Let me know what you guys think down below. Next week, we'll be talking NFL playoffs as we get to that time, as well as the semifinals for the college football playoff. Again, Notre Dame and Georgia play tonight, actually in about 20 minutes. So go watch that. And as always, have a great new year. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another edition of Fan Talk. I'm excited for season 4. I'm excited for what 2025 holds. And we'll see you guys next week for another edition of Fan Talk.